This video is sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one website platform helping you succeed online. Hey everyone, so should you upgrade from this one-year-old iPhone 16 Pro Max to the brand new iPhone 17 Pro Max? And I think most practical people would say a year-to-year upgrade probably isn't worth the investment, but just what is new in the iPhone 17 Pro Max outside the cameras that may make it worth you upgrading? So you've got the brand new A19 chipset. You've also got the improved thermal management, which makes it dissipate heat and perform more efficiently. And there might be something to that because the iPhone 16 Pro that I had, the smaller version, did have some heating issues. But I will say that the larger body of the 16 Pro Max has been just fine. I haven't had any kind of overheating that I did with a smaller version. But that is a benefit to the 17 Pro Max, even better thermal management for more efficiency. You also have a better battery, larger and better battery performance. You've got the brighter display with an anti-reflective coating on it on the 17 Pro Max. And of course, you've got the newer design, love it or hate it, along with the new colors. So all those might be reasons for you to upgrade outside the cameras. And as far as the cameras, they both support Pro RAW for photography and Apple Log for video. So if you like to customize and edit your photos and videos in post-production, you can do that on both these phones. This is log video that's been color corrected on both devices. And they both support customizable photographic styles. So you can customize your photographic styles both pre and post-shot. But as far as the camera differences here, on the 17 Pro Max, you have a new telephoto sensor, which is 48 megapixels up from the 12 megapixel sensor on the 16 Pro Max. And it's also a slightly larger sensor as well. And you also have the new selfie camera on the 17 Pro Max, which is also available on all the iPhone 17 models. It has that open gate kind of concept camera where it can switch from portrait to landscape and vice versa without rotating the phone. But they both retain the same 48 megapixel Fusion main and ultra wide angle cameras, so those sensors remain largely unchanged. But are there any good, and are these upgrades really worth you changing over from the 16 Pro Max to the 17 Pro Max? Well, like I always do, I'm going to show you a bunch of photos and videos in both good and low light conditions, so you can decide for yourself which of these two camera systems are best for your smartphone camera needs, and if it's really worth you upgrading from the 16 Pro Max to the new 17 Pro Max. So go ahead and take a look at all the photos and videos and let me know what you think. However, just a quick break from the video to mention that if you're a content creator like me, maybe a photographer, you've got some digital content that you like to offer, or maybe some personally branded merchandise you would like to put on an online storefront, then today's sponsor, Squarespace, has you covered. To start selling products, simply go to Selling Tools and select Custom Merch powered by Printful. Once you set up a Printful account and connect it to your Squarespace account, you can add products from Printful's extensive product catalog, such as posters, canvas prints, and phone cases. Once you select a product, you can customize it with your photography by uploading a photo and using their designer to add whatever else you'd like. Once you save your product, it is synced to your Squarespace products and is ready in your store for customers to purchase. And when you're ready to go live with your website, go to squarespace.com/grantlikestech for 10% off your first website or domain. I'd like to thank Squarespace for sponsoring today's video, which helps me bring you more content like this. So let's get back to the video. So here's a rear video test of the cameras on the iPhone 16 Pro Max and the 17 Pro Max. As you can see, they both are actively recording from the rear-facing cameras. And like I always do, I'm starting out with the ultra-wide-angle cameras at 4K 60 frames per second. So I'm just gonna pan around here so you get a side-by-side view of how these ultra-wide-angle cameras compare in this particular setting in the park. Again, as always, lots of blues, the clear blue skies there, greens, and the red from that garage over there. And this is the same 48 megapixel ultra-wide-angle camera on each. And speaking of that, we can go to the main camera on this 16 Pro Max, 48 megapixel fusion, and the same 48 megapixel fusion on the 17 Pro Max there. So now this is the main camera on each. And we'll just pan around and do the same thing. Do the side-by-side view of how the main cameras perform and how they compare. Should be looking pretty much the same as they are in the viewfinder for me. Same with the ultra-wide. But we'll pan over here to the right and we'll test what is different, which is the telephoto lenses. So on the 16 Pro Max, 5x telephoto lens there. And on the 17 Pro Max, the upgraded 4x telephoto sensor that's slightly larger and has more zoom range, which we can test right now. On the 16 Pro Max, we can go all the way up to a 15x zoom. And on the 17 Pro Max, we can go all the way up to a 24x zoom. So there you go, max zoom there. So a little bit farther reach on the 17 Pro Max. And they're both nice and steady and pretty clear here for video. Let's back them both out on the 16 Pro Max and 17 Pro Max main cameras there. And then we'll test the autofocus on the post with the 16 Pro Max first. Focus up and away. And one more time. A lot easier to do these one at a time. Now 17 Pro Max, there we go. So equally fast, and both have a nice natural bokeh there, or background blur, both looking pretty good. And we'll test the stabilization. We'll walk down the stairs so you get a side-by-side view of what that looks like here as we walk through the pathway. And then I'll just draw it to try to stress out that stabilization here. So there you go, a quick 4K 60 frames per second video test on the iPhone 16 Pro Max and the newer 17 Pro Max. Let me know what you think. So we're back with the rear cameras, this time with cinematic mode turned on. So you should be seeing this artificial background blur right now. And they both are set at an aperture of f/4.0, but that's fully adjustable to be as blurry or less blurry as you want in the background effect. And so of course I'm outdoors, the sun is shining directly on me. So this should be looking as best as possible because this effect does require a lot of light. So everything should be looking as good as possible from the exposure to the background effect and everything else. But as we pan around this way, you can see what it looks like here as the lighting conditions change. So with it coming off my left, you can see what it does to the background effect and overall picture quality. And as I rotate this way, it'll be with the sun shining more directly into those cameras. Although again, it is kind of overcast, so not a ton of direct sunlight, but there is enough to throw things off and change them a bit. And so we'll keep panning around all the way to where we started. And I'll just walk so I can show you what the stabilization looks like, as well as how this effect holds up with some movement. So let me know what you think about cinematic mode from the rear cameras on the iPhone 16 Pro Max and the 17 Pro Max. Alright, so here's a video test of the front-facing cameras on the iPhone 16 Pro Max and the 17 Pro Max. This is being shot at 4K 60 frames per second. That is the max resolution and frame rate of each of these selfie cameras. And of course, on the 17 Pro Max, you have the upgraded 18 megapixel selfie camera with the ultra wide angle 20 millimeter camera there on the 17 Pro Max, 23 millimeters on the 16 Pro Max. So wider field of view on the 17 Pro Max, but not by much really. And of course, the 17 Pro Max does have the selfie camera that can do the kind of open gate concept, which is switching between portrait and landscape automatically without rotating the phone. But this is just the quality that you're gonna see from both these cameras. I'm outdoors, the sun is shining directly on me right now, so everything should be looking pretty even as far as exposure and the picture quality and everything else. But I'll go ahead and just pan around so you can see what it looks like with the changing lighting conditions, as it now is coming off more on my left, and as we pan around here, it'll be right behind me. And it is kind of overcast, so you won't have some really bright light, but enough to throw off the exposure and everything else. So you can see what that looks like as far as that is concerned. And we'll just keep panning around until we get back to where we started, and I'll just walk so we can test the stabilization and show you what that looks like here side by side. So let me know what you think about the quality here of the front-facing cameras of the 16 Pro Max and the 17 Pro Max, and if you see any significant differences here as far as the upgrade to the 17 Pro Max. Hey everyone, so we're back with the front-facing cameras on the 16 Pro Max and 17 Pro Max. This time I've got cinematic video turned on, so you should be seeing this artificial background blur. And they are both set with an aperture of f/4.0. You can actually adjust that to be as blurry or less blurry as you want as far as the background is concerned. And so again, same spot outdoors, sun shining directly on me. So this is gonna be looking the best possible quality as far as this effect, because it does need a lot of sunshine and it's pretty even light, so it should be looking as good as it's gonna look right now. But I'll just pan around like I did before so you can see what it looks like here with the changing light conditions and what that does to the effect and the overall picture quality as it's coming off my left. And all the way back around this way with the sun more directly into the camera. Again, overcast day, so not a ton of sun, but enough to throw off the picture quality here so you can see what that looks like here and the shadows and everything else. And I'll keep panning around until we come back to where we started, and I'll just do the same thing and just walk so we can test the stabilization and show you what that looks like side by side and how the background effect holds up with some movement. So let me just think about cinematic mode on these front-facing cameras on the iPhone 16 Pro Max and the 17 Pro Max. Alright, so here's a low light video test of the rear cameras of the iPhone 16 Pro Max and the 17 Pro Max. This is the ultra wide angle cameras to start out on each at 4K 60 frames per second. So again, I'm just going to pan around side by side so you can see these ultra wide angle cameras and how they compare here in this particular setting. And so this is the same 48 megapixel Fusion ultra wide angle camera and also the same main camera. So we'll go to the main camera on the 16 Pro Max and on the 17 Pro Max. So again, same main camera here, 48 megapixel Fusion, and things got a little bit brighter compared to the ultra wide because it is a larger sensor than the ultra wide angle camera. So it lets in more light. So things are significantly brighter here because of that. I'm just panning around to give you a side-by-side view of these main cameras and how they compare here. And the one thing that did change between the 16 Pro Max to the 17 is the telephoto lens. So we'll go to the 5x telephoto on the 16 Pro Max and the 4x telephoto on the 17 Pro Max. So you go from 12 to 48 megapixels between the 16 and 17 Pro Max, and a slightly larger telephoto sensor on the 17 Pro Max, but not by a lot. So you can see here, it has a larger, it's gonna have a longer focal length and overall zoom range. But you can see the low light performance, even though a larger sensor, it's not really significantly better. And so we'll go ahead and test the zoom. You can go out to a max 15x zoom on the 16 Pro Max, and you can go out to a max 24x here on the 17 Pro Max. So again, longer focal length on the 17 Pro Max, better image processing. So you can see it's cleaned up significantly better on the 17 than the 15, but not tremendously longer range zoom there, but you do get that. And I'll pan around this way and we'll just walk to test the stabilization as well as show you what it looks like here with less light. So obviously there's a bunch of lights back there, and out this way there's not much light at all. There's just some light coming off my left right now, but as I move over to the walkway here and as I round the corner, it's going to be pretty dark. There's pretty much no lights. So as I walk around this corner here, it's very dark right now. But of course, these cameras in auto mode are going to try to bump up that ISO and make things a little bit brighter than they really are. Usually there's these really bright lights right in front of me, but there are no walkway lights on or the bright street lights or pathway lights at all. And if I pan around this way, you'll get a little bit more coming off the building, but it still looks to my eye very dark. And of course, everything's being brightened up by the cameras. And I'll pan up to the building so you can see what it looks like here and up into the night sky. So there are some stars and it's fairly dark, some light pollution. And because of that, the cameras are trying to crank up everything to be brighter. So you're gonna see a bunch of noise because of that. And we'll pan back around this way. So you can change that though. These are pro phones. You can lower the exposure and get things looking a little bit darker, more like night. But in full auto mode, this is what you're gonna get. It likes to brighten things up. So let me know what you think about this 4K footage here at night between the iPhone 16 Pro Max and the 17 Pro Max. All right, so should you upgrade from the iPhone 16 Pro Max to the new iPhone 17 Pro Max? So I'll go through this low light camera test on the front facing selfie cameras and I'll give my thoughts at the end. But again, we're here at night. I've got a bunch of lights around me like you can see. And from what I can see in the viewfinder, they're both performing about the same. They're looking fairly similar. The 17 Pro Max has the slightly wider field of view here at 20 millimeters versus the 23 millimeters on the 16 Pro Max. So it is an ultra wide angle camera on the front of the 17 Pro Max, a little bit wider, but as you can see, not by a ton. But I'll just go ahead and start walking so we can test the stabilization. So you can see what that looks like here side by side, as well, so I can move over into a little bit darker area. So obviously there's a bunch of lights around me back there. But as you get to a little bit darker area, you can see what the performance looks like here and how everything's shaping up and looking. But I'll just pan around all the way around so you can see what this looks like here with a bunch of those really bright streetlights behind me, shining more into those cameras. See what it does to the picture quality. So in case you're out at night and you've got a bunch of bright lights around, this is kind of some of the quality you might expect to see. But if I come back here, you can see what this looks like here in this darker area with less light again side by side, and what that looks like here. And yeah, it's looking a bit warmer. iPhone cameras tend to skew a little bit on the warmer of the color temperature. That's pretty much normal, but otherwise I think when I'm seeing the viewfinder, they're looking pretty much very similar here. So let me know what you thought about the 16 Pro Max versus the 17 Pro Max here. Would you upgrade? And here are some of my own personal feelings and thoughts. There are a bunch of reasons to upgrade to the 17 Pro Max outside the cameras. Things like the brighter display with the anti-reflective coating on the 17 Pro Max, also the better battery life on the 17 Pro Max, and you're also getting the newer chipset with a little bit better performance, but unless you're really pushing that, I don't know if you're really going to notice it. Where you might notice it is in the better thermal management, so it doesn't heat up as much as the 16 models did. I know my 16 Pro really heated up, which is why I got the Pro Max, a little bit bigger body to dissipate the heat. Of course, the 17 Pro Max is aluminum, better thermal management overall, so that could be a thing for you as well. But if you're looking at cameras and just wanting to upgrade because you think the 17 Pro Max has a one-year leap on the 16 Pro Max and is significantly better, my personal opinion is that I don't think it really is. You've got the same 48 megapixel main and ultra wide angle camera fusion cameras on both. They're both exactly the same. They both are going to have RAW support for photography and log for video. If you want to color correct and color grade in post, you can do that on both these phones. The upgrading camera is on the telephoto sensor on the 17 Pro Max. It's a 48 megapixel sensor from the 12 on the 16, and it's also slightly larger, but it's only ever so slightly larger, and in real world use, from what I can see, not significant performance benefits even in low light. And the selfie camera has been upgraded on the 17 Pro Max, but also on the entire 17 series. So if you're just looking for a better selfie camera, I don't think the performance is much difference, other than of course you have the open gate style camera where it will auto adjust for both portrait and landscape, slightly wider field of view, but overall performance looks to be very similar to me. And you don't need to get a Pro phone. You can get any of the other 17 models to get that new selfie camera. And I think if selfie camera is big on your list, I don't think, a Pro phone is probably what you really need to consider anyway. But those are just my thoughts overall. And so if you fall into some of those buckets and needs, you may want to upgrade. If not, you may really be able to skip this thing unless you really want the new design, maybe get a better deal on it. But otherwise, those are just my thoughts and opinions on whether or not you should upgrade or if it's worth upgrading. Let me know if you did upgrade and if it was worth it for you. I'm always interested to hear your thoughts in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching.